Hey guys, my name is Benton Moss. I'm a pitcher on UNC's baseball team here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and tonight I wanted to speak a little bit on service and what it means to me and what it should mean to a believing Christian. Service is huge. Some people serve because it makes them feel good. Some people serve because they're made to. Some people serve because they just sort of know it's the right thing to do. With Jesus, serving is put in its proper place. You understand why you're serving. Jesus, the embodiment of the gospel, was always a servant. He healed. He provided food. He even washed his disciples' feet. He said in the Gospel of Matthew, the greatest among you will be your what? Your servant. How often do we see that today? The greatest among us is, the greatest athlete, the smartest person in the room. No, not to God, not to Christ. The greatest among us will be your servant. Christ started this downward trend of mobility where you try and be as humble as possible, not as proud as possible, not as big as possible, not as important as possible, but as much of a servant as possible. Completely counterintuitive to the way the real world works if you think about it. I love this quote that St. Augustine wrote when he says, preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. You're preaching the gospel at all times in your actions if you're a servant. How many of us can say that? I know for me, a lot of the time I struggle with that. It's all of us. We put ourselves first instead of thinking of the other person, saying, how can I serve them today? That's the gospel. When you look at someone and you say, how can I serve them? How can I show that Christ has done for me so that I might serve them? Christ has loved me, therefore I will love them. How can I show them that? And I think service is probably the best way to show the love of Christ. When someone's hurting or in need or in pain, serving them when they need it most, that's showing the love of Christ, because he met people where they were. You look at the prostitute that he said, okay, did they condemn you? Neither do I. Neither do I. You are forgiven, go and sin no more. He met her where she was. She was in need. And I think service is the best way to show people the love of Christ. He came and met us where we were, broken and sinful. And he, in the greatest way possible, served as our substitute, paid what we could not pay. One of my favorite quotes on service ever was written by Martin Luther King. It was part of one of his sermons. I just want to read a little piece of it right now. I think it's really, really applicable in this situation. He writes, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree. You don't have to know about Plato or Aristotle. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. Where does that love come from? It comes from understanding the gospel. And understanding the gospel is understanding what Christ did for us and why. And that why is that we were broken and that we were spiritually dead. And Christ came to serve us for one specific purpose, so that we might have life and have it abundantly. And so when we figure out, when we understand that Christ has served us in this immense way, what more can we do than go forth and look at everyone else around us in an attitude of, how can I serve you? How can I serve them? God has done this for me, and out of this love for me, I will respond in service and love. And so that's all I really have. I believe that service is the key to unlocking anyone's heart to preach the gospel. Preach to a man all day, and he'll hate you. But you serve a man, and he'll open his heart and fill it with love. Serving is a direct extension of Christ's love in us. We respond by loving others through service as he loved us first. He came not as a king, but as a servant. And through service, he brought the whole world to his feet. And he saved the whole world through serving us with his body and his blood on the cross.